the United States and Israel have declared war on Russia, China, and Iran, with Israel's attack on the Iranian embassy in the Syrian capital Damascus marking the most egregious and outrageous escalation in what is a world war in everything but name. It's no coincidence that attacks have taken place in Russia, Iran, China, Syria, and Yemen all at the same time. All these attacks are related to the war in Gaza and happened within a period of 12 weeks, with the same groups, Al-Qaeda and ISIS, claiming responsibility. What a surprise. What do both these groups have in common? It's their links to the United States and Israel. And isn't it funny that Al-Qaeda and ISIS never mention the war in Gaza? Where is their support for the resistance of their Muslim brothers against Israel and America? You know, at the start of this war, it was only Hamas. The next day, Hezbollah entered. Then it was Iraq, Yemen, and Syria. Now, it's no longer a regional war, but a global one. It is a world war in all but name. Have Russia, China, and Iran been attacked over their support for the resistance? In Russia, it seems the US are very unhappy that Putin was re-elected, or that in February, delegations of all the Palestinian factions, including Hamas and Fatah, were hosted in Moscow. And they're especially not happy that Putin crushed NATO in Ukraine, solidifying his victory with a new assault that the Western media don't seem to cover, or that the sanctions imposed by the West utterly backfired. The head of Russia's FSB said that US, UK, and Ukraine were behind the recent concert attack, and a new attack was foiled only days later. You know, if the US blew up the Nord Stream pipelines, and they did, and they attacked the Kremlin with drones, which they did, then what's to stop them from doing something like this? Putin is probably furious, and he should be, and I've no doubt his ire will exact revenge in good time. Next door in China, it's no secret the US have been waging an economic war for years out of jealousy over Beijing's technical and economic prowess. The US economic model has become obsolete. Many countries flock to join China's New Silk Road, BRICS, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The US have tried to attack and undermine China using Hong Kong, Taiwan, Tibet, and AUKUS in the South China Sea. But what really has the Americans and Israelis angry is that Russia and China made a recent deal with the Houthis that guarantees the safety of their commercial ships, a large percentage of which pass through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait and the Red Sea. In exchange, Russia and China shall afford Yemen political protection at the United Nations Security Council. I mean, that's a deal. It's no surprise that the bomber behind the terrorist attack in China came from Pakistan, where the United States created Al-Qaeda. The US have always maintained a presence in the region to be close to Russia, China, and Iran. This is something that Prime Minister Imran Khan criticized, and then all of a sudden, he was removed as Prime Minister and thrown in prison. Israel's bombing of the Iranian embassy in Damascus has left at least 5 people dead and killed strategic partners in Syria's war on Al-Qaeda and ISIS. In addition, we had the January attack, which was the deadliest since the revolution, and on the anniversary of General Soleimani's assassination, who was killed by the Americans at Israel's behest. Iran refuses to recognize Israel, and the US have been trying to breach it ever since their puppet, the Shah, was deposed. Iran is the biggest, most vocal supporter of the resistance and has helped Hezbollah, Hamas, Yemen, and Syria to acquire sophisticated weapon systems and defend themselves. The same day of the terrorist attack, Israel assassinated the head of Hamas political bureau, Saleh Haruri, in Beirut, which further proves that Israel has a hand in all these attacks. As of late, Israel has been busy bombing deeper and deeper inside Lebanon and causing larger casualties to try and provoke Hezbollah into using their larger weapons so they reveal their hand. One overlooked aspect of the war are the Israeli attacks on Syria. And just now, one of the most lethal when Syria was bombed by Israel and attacked by Al-Qaeda simultaneously, resulting in the deaths of 40 Syrians. Not only was the timing suspicious, but we know for a fact that Israel have worked together with al-Qaeda to try and overthrow the secular government of Syria.
You're happy to treat al-Qaeda fighters, but not Hezbollah fighters?
We have a different account with Hezbollah. Al-Qaeda, to the best of my recollection, has up to now not attacked Israel.
But it's attacked your number one ally and protector and sponsor in the United States of America. There is a quote-unquote war on terror being going on for 15 years.
While the UK and US are bombing Yemen, it now turns out the Americans are building a secret airstrip on the Yemeni island of Socotra. Yemen's blockade has been very successful, striking 86 ships and now extending all the way to the Indian Ocean. Out of the blue, now al-Qaeda have resurfaced, reactivated in the rear, fighting with other factions and announcing a new leader. What a coincidence. This is naught but an attempt by the Americans and Israelis to open another front on the Yemenis because they successfully blocked their ships. ISIS and al-Qaeda are the mobile armies of the Americans and Israelis. When they're disgruntled or unhappy, they set their dogs loose to carry out terrorist attacks, create instability, and undermine the security of other nations, particularly those they've been unable to breach or control, like Syria, Russia, or Iran. Because they're unable to win using conventional methods, they use proxies and terrorist groups to assault these governments and to try and loosen their grip on power. The terrorist attacks in Russia, China, and Iran are unprecedented, and they mark an escalation in the confrontation between the West and Global South.